as most of you know, I do teach a basic class on social media. It's Mondays from 4 to 5 down to, indeed 11, from 4 to 5 at the Workforce Solutions office, which is just 2 blocks down the street. And we cover a little bit on Twitter and a little bit on Facebook and a lot on LinkedIn, which is has become essentially a job search necessity for anybody who wants to be found by a recruiter. For years, we were told that 85% of recruiters go first to LinkedIn, 90% of recruiters go first to LinkedIn. The figure that I read last night online said 97% of recruiters go first to LinkedIn. So it behooves us, any of us who hope to be found by a recruiter, it behooves us to have a very strong presence on LinkedIn. And every recruiter that we have ever had speak at Launchpad has confirmed that that's the first place they go. And there are some wonderful, wonderful resources. LinkedIn itself has got tutorials, videos that are on YouTube that tell how to use LinkedIn. There are lots of LinkedIn groups for people who want to learn more about LinkedIn. And so you can go into the group search and look at LinkedIn and pull up all of the jobs that have to do with just how to know more about LinkedIn. So there's that as well. A lot of the information that I'm going to share with you today came from YouTube videos. And you have to be a little bit careful that some of them that sounded great were created in 2009, 2011. And it changes so fast. I can hardly stay ahead of it. In fact, I read about a feature that they had on LinkedIn some time ago that was called Signal. And it was there maybe for 2 years. Some of you, how many of you know about Signal? Anybody in here know about Signal? It was apparently very, very popular among a few people. But it gave you somehow a way to find out about jobs that were posted immediately, right away, and maybe some other real-time access as well. But there were comments where lots of people said they made a small fortune accessing that data and either selling it, marketing it, getting people to work at those places, and they all said they were devastated when LinkedIn quit using Signal because they had made so much money utilizing that resource. And I'm like, wow, I never even heard of it. I never even knew it existed. So LinkedIn comes out with new things all the time. Staying on top of what's going on there is a challenge. But I'm going to give you some resources so that you too can sort of see what should you have on your profile, and how do recruiters find you. Indeed, number 12. The first resource and one of the most useful resources was from the recruiter's point of view, and it was a YouTube video that had Johnny Campbell. His name is at the bottom. And he was on there with how do you be a black belt recruiter? How do you find talent? The perfect person for a job when you're trying to find that person. And so lots of times, of course, recruiters get tasked with finding people, and they don't really understand that job. They don't understand what they're looking for. Technical recruiters have that problem all the time. And those of you who are technical, I've heard you complain for years on having to deal with these recruiters who do not understand what you do. They don't speak the language that you speak. They don't understand how talented you are, the resources that you bring to the table, because they don't understand the industry. And that's a huge problem. And just imagine if you are a technical recruiter where you have to pretty much figure out lots and lots of technology in a very short period of time. It's very challenging. And so Johnny was saying that when he gets a job that he has to fill, the first place he goes is to Wikipedia, and he tries to find as many related terms, the tools that they use, what are the languages, what are the keywords that are affiliated and associated with that position. And I think it's a good idea for us to do that too. We're trying to fill our profiles with those same keywords, and we think we know. when I put down, I'm a trainer, so that's sort of what I try to market myself as. But if I were really seriously looking for another job, I would fill my headline with as many keywords that describe that function as I possibly could. Trainer, facilitator, motivator, instructional designer, presenter, instructor, as many of those things, and then plus all the subordinate words like workshops and meetings and seminars and all sorts of things like that. You want to, and then those are just the ones that I've thought of on the top of my head. You know there are many more. So in technology, what could they possibly be looking for? And they're trying to figure that out too. How can I find the most people with this particular skill? Sometimes the very same skill, the very same job, runs under different names in different companies, in different industries. How is a recruiter gonna find you when there are so many aliases describing what it is that you do? So they're trying to pick up all the related terms as well until they find the person that can do the job that they're trying to get. So he goes to Wikipedia first. And the example that he gave, I'm afraid I'm gonna knock that off. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you. The example that he gave, which was kind of a funny one, which is why he gave it, is penetration tester. Anybody want to talk about what is a penetration tester? It's not a condom. Okay, come tell us what it is.
Highly specialized area of network security where you basically try to hack into somebody's website completely, but you have their permission to do it because you're trying to expose weaknesses.
All right, so what he said was, and next time we'll get him to come up here, it's a highly specialized piece of the computer security industry where, with company permission, you try to hack into their computer system and see if it's penetrable. All right. We went down. This is going to make this a very short presentation. Why don't you come up and break this up and keep messing with this?
I have a question as far as the keywords are concerned. Would you recommend just saying blatantly keywords to put them all down, or you try to work everyone into specific?
So the question was, when you've got this big long list of keywords, should you have an area on your profile that just says keywords or specialties and you just list them, or should you try to integrate them throughout your profile? And I've seen both of them work very well. Initially, when they first do a scan, it doesn't matter where that keyword is. The scanner will, the browser will be looking for that, and it'll pop up and it'll say, this keyword's in your headline, it recurs in your current job, in your previous job, it's in your education, you got a certification for it, and it's on a list of keywords that describe your specialties. So there are certain areas of your profile that are weighted. The headline, the area right under your name on your profile, is weighted the most heavily. And so there are sort of two options that you have. One is to fill that headline area with as many, did you get it? You did not get it. Is to fill that headline area with as many different keywords that describe what it is you do as possible. So I've given you some profile names that you can look at as good examples. And one of them, on Roman numeral 2, populate your profile with keywords. The example that I've given you there is a Launchpad member named Frank Scamato. And he subscribes to the idea that you put all your job titles in your headline. He has 5 different job titles, which I believe start with applications engineer, field applications engineer, FAE, I can't remember what else. It's 5 different job titles that he used during his lengthy career in the semiconductor industry. Okay. Back to penetration. I know you didn't want to talk about Frank. All right. The penetration. So it explains what it does, and then it also gives you, in its explanation, some keywords. So you can see, it's hard for some of you to read this, and I apologize for that. But it says, or the short form is pen test. So a penetration test or pen test. So pen test is another keyword. And then it says security, so it's another keyword that you're going to want to do. And then you go through, it talks about white box, black box. Those are keywords that are used in that industry. It talks about, it gives you tools. And so when you click on tools, it talks about Metasploitable. It talks about a Linux product, Kylix. It talks about different kinds of tools that you might use if you are in that career field. And so, and then it lists more at the very bottom. Let me get you to that. You can see software frameworks, Metasploit, Nmap, W3AF. So there's that. There's the See Also area at the bottom, which gives you more keywords. And the recruiters are taking all those keywords down. Sometimes they're following the links to see what do those mean, and sometimes they're just putting them into their, it's going to be in their Boolean search, because when they do a Boolean search, they have an area for job title. So they'll put down the pen test and the penetration tester and so forth. Then there's the area for keywords. And they'll put this, or this, or this, or this. You can have, guess what, 3,000 characters. 3,000 characters in those keyword boxes. Most recruiters don't use anywhere near all of those. One of the examples that I saw on some recruiter's site was this particular company wanted diversity. Now, how are you going to do a keyword search for diversity? It's very difficult. And so what he did for minorities was he did a search for what groups are they in, and looked to see if they were members of minority groups. That would tell him that this would be somebody that we might want to bring in, because we're trying to get more diverse people in our workforce. Now for women, what he did was, this was amazing. He went into some database and copied down, I don't know how many, 100 maybe, maybe more than that, 200 most common female names, and he put them all in there with Anne, or Annabelle, or Alice, or all the way down to Yvonne and Zoe. And he put them all in there, because, you know, whoever's going to pull up, the chances are they're going to have one of those names, and that's going to help him find more females. That seemed like a very strange way to do it, but they're very clever about what they're looking for and how they sort, how they search, how they find those things. So a good way to start, and a good way for all of us to start, is Wikipedia. Another similar site to that, I'm not going to go into it, but it's ONET Online. That is it's an occupational description site that they refer people to all the time at the Workforce Solutions Office. If somebody doesn't really know how to describe the work that they do, ONET will give them, here's a job description, and people can pick and choose the pieces of that. And it could be that onetonline.org will give you some of that same kinds of information. You can look up job postings, whether they're on Indeed or somewhere else, and see if the keywords that are included in those job postings are things that you hadn't thought of that would also describe and define what you're looking for. Yeah, Pat?
Yeah, one thing that I found really helpful was actually salary.com. Very good various title descriptions, and those are good things also.
Okay, so you didn't hear that. Salary.com, which is a compensation analysis site, and you usually go in and they'll say, there'll be a little box and they'll say, put in your job title. Well, it could be that their database has never heard of your job title, so they'll try to expose you to a whole bunch of similar job titles and keywords that might also help you narrow that down.
But yeah, I mean,
It was salary.com.
salary.com, and the big thing is that they have a description of the positions, and the description of the positions is where you can get a whole lot of information about that, and also how maybe a lower level position and description and other things they might, alternate positions they might consider.
All right, most of you understand that when you're looking for people with certain companies, do you have a question?
Well, I was wondering if you were going to mention Wordle for keyword extraction.
Sure. So sometimes you can take like a job posting, job description, and go into Wordle.net, WORDLE.net, and you paste it into a field and ask it to do a word cloud. And what it will do is it generally will show you a word cloud that makes the key words from that text a bigger whatever, and it'll be there more often. I like to do word clouds for like me personally. I did a word cloud where I took my LinkedIn profile and did a word cloud. But you can also, if you're going to do one intentionally, you can weight certain words. One of our very successful job seekers has a leave behind that she takes into interviews with her. I pass out a copy of it in my interview class, and I love her leave behind. It's very simple, one page. At the top, she has a word cloud with her name in the middle, and it's surrounded by all of her skills. And then she has a list of she'll say, here's what they're saying about me. And it's a whole list of testimonials about what the great work that she does. And then at the bottom it says, here's why they're saying it. And she's listed her accomplishments. So it has three parts: the word cloud, the testimonials, and the accomplishments. And she passes that out and she says, here's me in a nutshell. And so that's cool. Sometimes it will show you in a job description, like one word will be repeated a number of times, and that will be made very clear, especially if it's a long, complicated job posting, and you'll see, wow, they really are interested in somebody with this particular skill or something like that. So sometimes a word cloud will help you identify those things. Good advice. All right, so we're going to look for penetration testers. And I'm going to start out, because I think that this is such a niche thing, I'm going to start out not putting a location. I'm just going to look anywhere. You put quotations around it if you want it to be both of those words and both of those words in that order. Although sometimes it's still, as I was practicing this last night, sometimes it would still just give me tester. But it narrows it down considerably. And it will rank them by how closely we're connected. So if I have a first degree contact who's a penetration tester, that first degree contact will go at the top. In one place it said that as a recruiter that they tried to, I will pull up her, if I can remember it, yes I can remember it. I will pull up her profile and show you how bizarre her particular profile is. There is a professional LinkedIn expert who tutored her on how to make this profile and how to make sure that your profile will put you at the top of the search pile. And hers is really interesting. And he said, in one search she came up number 1, and in another search she came up number 2. Slightly different search criteria, but the person that came out number 1 had so many recommendations. The number of recommendations you have can also add more clout to a search. So you want to write a lot of recommendations for other people, and you want to solicit recommendations for yourself, because that seems to be one of the differentiators. Okay, so we have come up with a number of different penetration people. Normally, it will put you higher on the stack if penetration tester is in your headline, because that's weighted. But and then your current job is your second most weighted, and your summary, and then past work as well. So you can see where some of these people are. We have, if I wanted to find somebody in Austin, I can see Shane is in Austin. I could have put down the location and found him as well. And so he is an independent penetration tester. And so he says he is a newcomer to the cybersecurity. Oh, cybersecurity. What is that? Another keyword. So we should throw that one in as well. And so then he talks about, down here at the bottom of his summary, he also says Kali Linux, so he's got that one. Cracking the perimeter, a bunch of certifications, OSCP, OSCE. So here's all more certification names that we could add to that. And a lot of these, he's gotten them in there, even though he doesn't have them yet. So he says in 2016, in another year, he will try to get advanced Windows exploitation and OSCE exams. So he says he's saving up for those exams, and yet he's gotten them on his profile, even though he doesn't have them yet. But it might, having those keywords on his profile might get him looked at by somebody who would be impressed and want to talk to him. So there's that. Also, when you pull up jobs, job postings on LinkedIn, very often it will show you similar, and you click on that and you might find similar jobs, similar people, similar keywords that will take you into a slightly other area. LinkedIn has, you can sort by skills and expertise. Okay, I've put in cybersecurity as a keyword, and I wanted to search by, I wanted to see the companies that they currently work for. So IBM, we all know Homer. Homer's a launchpad guy. So IBM has 1,617 people listed as currently being involved in cybersecurity. Dell has 13,050. Hewlett-Packard, 8,000. Oracle. So if somebody wants somebody with particular industry background, particular company background, they can look at them that way too. And you might go into those people, some of those people, and see what keywords have they used to describe and define themselves. So there's that as well. Frank Scamato shows you one kind of profile. Let me show you. All right, he is the person that has 5 different job titles, and that's a perfectly fine thing to do. All of the people will search on any of those, and so there's that. We also had a recruiter that's a good friend of ours, Gary O'Neill, who says in order to make it easy for recruiters to find you, put some kind of contact information like a phone number in your headline as well. In his summary, long summary, lots of keywords, lots of details. One little paragraph that kind of describes his work ethic, his passion, how he operates, and then it says, here are the specifics, and he lists tons of keywords. He's MSSE, MSEE with experience in product design, development, test, self-reliability, systems engineering with all the keywords under that, circuit engineering with all the keywords, project engineering, more keywords, interfaces, more keywords, and then guess what? Keywords. Now sometimes people in their work history will put a small paragraph about what they did followed by a list of keywords. That's what I have in mind when you look up what are my last jobs. But in his case, he wanted to populate those keywords instead throughout his work history, and that was a choice on his part, and it served him well. So there's what he did at AMD. You'll also notice that under each job, look at this AMD specialist. Oh, you can't see it very well. The field applications engineer, FAE, strategic accounts, regional specialist. He's put 4 job titles. Let me get this a little bit higher. He's put all of these job titles over and over and over. Because the more you have them in your past jobs, the higher you'll get on a search. One place that I looked at said that they were looking for a psychology consultant, and this guy came up a massive number of points higher than anybody else because every single consultant job he had, he treated separately on LinkedIn, and each time he was called consultant psychology, rather than putting consultant work and listing his individual jobs under each one. In a regular resume, so Sean said your LinkedIn profile is your resume. It's really not exactly your resume because you have an unlimited amount of space, whereas a resume is a finite length. And in your LinkedIn profile, you are working it so that you get found on a Boolean search. And you're trying to stack those words so that you come up at the top of that. So in a resume, you would put consultant work and list all of your individual ones, or major consultant jobs included, and list them all in one little category to save room. Not on LinkedIn. Consultant, consultant, consultant. Get that word out there many, many times, and reuse those keywords over and over. The more you have those keywords, the higher you get on a search. Graphics, these days, that's kind of the newest thing, is that you include graphics, PowerPoint presentations, training seminars that you've taught. Frank doesn't have any graphics. He couldn't think of anything he could illustrate in that way. Sometimes if people have had white papers, they'll throw those on LinkedIn. All of that extra stuff is good. Any kind of videos that you've participated in, videos will automatically make your search engine optimization score considerably higher. So if you have a video, that's great. But I'll show you another name that's on there is Mark Johnson. He gave a presentation to Launchpad about how to include graphics and how to insert them in your resume. So Mark is a social media expert, and so he's all about this. He's also an architect and has done a lot of architecture things as well. So let me show you his. You save your graphics things on a number of different providers. The most common one is SlideShare, and then you just insert it. The foresty, beachy thing in the back was something that he got because he signed up when he was looking for work. He's now working, but when he was looking for work, he signed up for premium. The premium people get to have that. Right now, they're encouraging people to try premium for free. Some people that I've seen that no longer have premium still have that backdrop. So they don't have premium on their profile, but they still have the colorful backdrop. So maybe once you choose one, it sticks with you. Okay. Well, it's cool. It used to be that it was only, that was one of the perks that you got for it, but she said, so Cynthia said she's got a backdrop like that and she doesn't have premium. So avoid premium. You don't really need premium. There's so much you can do without it, but if it's free and you want to try it out and just see, you can always do that. So here are Mark's, he's got a lot of different graphic-y things on here, and you can click on them and then see what the presentations were. This was one that I think he did here for us. Anyway, so putting graphic stuff on there is very good. He said he found that he could not insert an Excel spreadsheet. He had to take a screenshot of his Excel spreadsheet and put the screenshots on there. So he couldn't just insert or download or whatever an Excel spreadsheet. All right, I wanted to show you this lady named Ruby Newell Legner. A lot of these LinkedIn experts, for some reason, are Brits, and she's Brit as well. But she does the other thing that we've talked about with Gordon. The keyword that they were using as an example for Ms. Ruby was fan experience. So lots of times, people that are in events, sports events, and all sorts of things like that, a big keyword that they use all the time is fan experience. And so she's got in her headline, fan experience expert. Anytime you can put expert in there, that's good. Sports and entertainment venue training consultant to promote loyalty and retention. When you look at her summary, it starts out looking a little bit like Frank's, where she's got a paragraph, she's got a lot of good keywords, and then when you look under her work history, well, it's very different from the one that they showed, where it was just a solid paragraph with it's sort of like what a scanner would see, where it wasn't set up like this at all. It looks as though she's made the visual, the user experience is a little bit more readable and so forth than it was before. But before, she just kind of had it all laid out with just keywords, 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 and a whole list of them. And that's why she was able to work the system and come out. But now it looks much more user-friendly. And then, let me see if there's something else. We're out of time, actually, so let me tell you a couple other things. Oh, so fill your profile and your work history and all that with as many keywords as you possibly can, whether you integrate them in your work experience or whether you list them or do both. Either one of those is just fine. And then the third major thing that you want to do is connect with as many recruiters as you possibly can. Every one of you should have a target list of companies where you would like to work. Make sure that you've connected on LinkedIn with recruiters from those specific companies and recruiters from your industry. You can connect with technical recruiters, you can connect with semiconductor recruiters, try to connect with recruiters from your industry, and then just general recruiters as well. And when you send an invitation, most of you know this, but it's amazing how many invitations we all get that use the standard LinkedIn invitation, and lots of people will never accept a connection with somebody who sends that invitation. They want you to tell them, explain to them how you know them or why you're interested in connecting. Oh, that so bites. So what she said was, if you're on your phone, if you're on LinkedIn as a mobile application, you don't have the option of keying in your own unique message. And so all you have is please join my network on LinkedIn. But for those of you who don't know, that's right. That's why I'm going to show you why not to do that. All right. I'm going to connect with the recruiter, and then I'm going to show you how to avoid sending that tacky invitation. So I'm in the advanced search. I'm going to put, as title, I'm going to put recruiter. I want them to be currently working as a recruiter, and the company is going to be, all right. So, so we used to have a former speaker who was the recruiter at ARM, and she's gone somewhere else. But I'm connected to Krista, but I am not connected to Kyle Welchel, who is a technical recruiter. So I do not want to click on the easy way, which says connect. I don't want to do that because that will automatically send the standard invitation. You click on their name, you get into their profile, thank you, and then you try to connect here. And when you try to connect there, oh, darn it. These days, yeah, I'm going to try to make it up. All right, we'll see. You can go into, sometimes you can go into a place called mailtester.com, put in an email address, and it'll test it, and it'll say whether that's a valid one or not. And sometimes it works really well, sometimes not, so we'll send that and see if he gets it. Usually, I can go in and I can find somebody, and you can do it, find a recruiter and say, I know that you frequently look for firmware developers. I'm a firmware developer with a lot of experience in your industry. For that reason, I'd like to connect with you. And fudge a little bit. Say, I've worked with him before. You know, it says, how do you know this person? And just say, I've worked with this person. And then it doesn't say that. It doesn't say, it says, you know, she says she's worked with you before. It'll just come out as an invitation. And then you're explaining, here's why I know this. One of the things that I think is a good way to keep abreast of what's going on in LinkedIn is to follow the experts in LinkedIn. Follow Johnny Campbell. He has a place where you can subscribe to a series of videos on LinkedIn, and he gives speeches at conferences on LinkedIn all the time, so he's going to know the latest and greatest techniques. And then look up, you can do a search for, in the keywords, look for LinkedIn expert, LinkedIn trainer, LinkedIn coach. That's how I found this guy named Teddy Burris. And I wanted to look at his profile. I figured if he's an expert on LinkedIn, his profile ought to be fantastic. And so he's up in Omaha or somewhere like that. But I sent him a request, and I said, you know, the same thing. I facilitate it. I teach a social media class. I'm very interested in connecting with you for that reason. And he sent me back a reply and said, it's so nice. Thank you so much for your individual message. I'm very interested in your organization. Why don't you call me sometime? I'd love to talk to you about your group, see if there's any way I can help out. And one of the things it says on his, of course he doesn't live here, but maybe we could work a Skype thing or something like that, a FaceTime thing. But he said 50% of his time he gives away to job seekers and organizations. So it's nice to know. So at any rate, I want to let you go because Dennis is going to start his presentation. But I hope that's been helpful. Look at some of the videos yourself. One of the ones that I saw from Johnny Campbell was how to be a black belt recruiter, where he explains how recruiters do this, and it makes it easy for you to be able to apply that to your own situation. Look at the experts, see how they do it, try to insert keywords and graphics if possible, and make it work for you. Connect with recruiters, connect with recruiters, connect with recruiters in your industry.